I'm Ricky Ribeiro, and welcome to this episode of Rooted in Rising. The theme for this episode is all around community, and what better symbol of community during summertime than the cookout? The cookout represents a place of gathering, connection, conversation, debate, and safety for the Black community, and we hope that you can celebrate and have your conversations at the cookout, and hopefully you can decide who is and isn't invited to the cookout. So y'all, what does the cookout mean to you as young Black people? How does it build community? And then who is or who isn't invited to the cookout?
I would say that to me the cookout is a time of, gathering and fellowship, within the community. Who is invited, of course, brothers and sisters. Yeah. Maybe if someone has a plus one who isn't, maybe they could get a little pass, but that's up to, that's up for debate. That's how I see it.
Got it.
What the cookout means to me, whenever I think of it, I know at my crib, it's just going to be good eats, just great eats, good food and good music. And it's a time to like dance and enjoy, quality time with your family. Cause I feel like we get caught up in our own world sometimes, so the cookouts really bring us together, you know what I'm saying? And, yeah, it brings the community together as well. Now, who's invited? I think it depends on who's throwing the cookout is a real question, right?
That's right.
So if my people is throwing the cookout, we do have friends that are not like Black, but they real cool. So if they know us and they cool with us, we know that they can join in and add to the vibe. So they're allowed to come regardless of what race.
What I like about the cookout is I like, the environment, the laughs, man. I'm always a guy for jokes, I like joking and laughing. Good conversation, catching up with people I haven't seen in a little minute. And, it's a lot of that here today already.
Of course.
So cookout vibes, what I'm looking for. Good vibes. It's a vibe right here, everybody talking. You know what I'm saying? That's a plus. You know what I'm saying? Brings everybody together. Music number 2. 3. You already know what it is, bro. Food. And who invited to the cookout? You know what I'm saying? If you know like 5 quality R&B 90s songs, you invited to the cookout. That's all it is. We're gonna cut on that.
Welcome to episode 2 of Rooted in Rising, where we experience and share across Montgomery County, Maryland, how Black people are grounded in community and growing in power. Each episode begins with a call to clarity that grounds us in what is right now relevant and true for Black people and, by extension, for all people in Montgomery County, Maryland. I am Valarie Island Davis, convener of the Black Coalition for Excellence in Education. BCEE Media is recording this July 2026 episode in the middle of June, in the midst of early voting in our 2026 primary election, during the week leading up to the national holiday, Juneteenth, on June 19th, a week filled with Black people occupying rarefied space to teach, remember, and celebrate the triumphal resistance, persistence, and miraculous survival with excellence of African American descendants of chattel slavery. Our president and his administration are desperately and embarrassingly piecing together what they consider to be a celebration of the 250th anniversary of the founding of the United States of America, including a wrestling match on the front lawn of the very White House. And local Montgomery County, city, and municipality government leaders are preparing to launch celebrations of that same 250th anniversary in ways that are guaranteed to reflect selective amnesia. They will predictably include tepid, whitewashed calls to action that continue to erase and minimize the many hundreds of years of real-life experiences First Nations and African American people have had right where we live. Later in the What Had Happened segment of this episode, I will report on 2 local and 2 non-local incidents that occurred last week that will add further clarity to my comments at this point. But right now, allow me to make something perfectly clear. Everything that is causing democracy to crumble locally and nationally is rooted in anti-Blackness. The good news is that Black people are rising and refusing to be ignored, disrespected, dominated, and dismissed in Montgomery County. Not exactly the way we always have, because Black people are the life support system of the United States of America. Now, we are building strategic solidarity, making changes on our own terms and with our own resources, while making inescapable and long overdue demands for respect, repair, funding, and power. Let's be clear. Accountability to Black people is a choice Montgomery County electeds refuse to make. Accountability to Black people is a choice that Montgomery County elected officials, again, refuse to make. By now, a few primary election candidates are celebrating victory, and the majority of those bold or courageous enough to run for elected office are licking their wounds and figuring out what to do next. If you have been, and we hope you have, following and using voter tools from the Black United Front, of which BCEE is a founding organizational member, you know that Black folks had no safe bets and no real choices in this primary election, from the top of the ballot to the bottom. It was no surprise to leaders of the 6 organizations that make up the Black United Front that so many of the primary election candidates refused to answer questions in interviews we offered to county executive candidates and county council candidate questionnaires. Unfortunately, but not surprisingly, that included Black candidates. We made it easy for them. We provided data points for 6 categories of questions so they could respond as if they had knowledge of the state of Black Montgomery County. We had no word or time limits. They could type or talk themselves into or out of connection with Black community members to their heart's content. And we offered multiple time extensions for participation because we understand the demands of campaign seasons. However, let's be clear. No candidate in Montgomery County has ever been inundated with requests to speak with or answer questions from Black residents. And no other group of county residents has experienced illegal and legalized discrimination for decades that has made them a permanent underclass. So when we asked, we expected to be prioritized for response. Let me lay out clearly what this means for Black Montgomery County and for non-Black people who are willing to finally abandon the fantasy of diversity, equity, and inclusion for all in Montgomery County and rely on visual color-based representation to support that fantasy. Again, accountability to Black people is a choice Montgomery County electeds refuse to make. No one can make another adult accountable for anything, including and perhaps especially elected officials in Montgomery County. Here are a couple of examples that affect our children. When public school and government officials at county and state levels, 1, allow employees to work for years without legally required background checks. 2, continue to conduct illegal searches of students in our schools. 3, knowingly remain woefully out of compliance with special education law requirements without offering outplacement or alternatives. And 4, refuse to invest in targeted academic and well-being programs and supports for Black students against the advice of MCPS's own Chief Equity and Development Officer. Even a mountain of receipts, and rest assured we have them, will not activate accountability. Accountability is an individual choice. It's a choice that you made when you decided whether to cast your powerful votes based on a single issue or your individual experience of candidates, or to vote by considering and weighing the evidence of their actual impacts on the collective and the most vulnerable. It's a choice that winning candidates make when campaigning is over and they decide whether to keep their campaign promises or do what they or their funders planned to do all along. It's a choice that losing candidates make when campaigning is over and they decide to keep doing what they promised at grassroots levels or disappear entirely and go back to business as usual. The only choice for Black people, the one we excel at, is to keep rising together. One way that we are rising at BCE is by controlling and broadcasting our own Black community narratives through this show, Rooted in Rising by BCEE Media. Send in topics that you want us to cover, follow, and share. Another way that we are rising is by staying rooted in the liberatory ways of our ancestors, mutual aid, self-determination, self-funding while extracting what we're due, and demands for respect, centering, and repair when it comes to our own communities. One of those successful ancestral ways we practice is keeping our confidences among like-minded folks, meaning everything is not for publication beyond our community. We invite you to connect with one of our member organizations if you're serious about working in solidarity and prioritizing Black people in Montgomery County. When Black people rise, everyone rises. That's a fact that any 250th anniversary celebration should include as a headline, but won't. So we'll do it here. Keep rising, fam. You are needed right now. The sky's the limit, and the last time I looked up, there's plenty of good room.
This is the portion of Rooted in Rising that we call The Real Deal, where we talk with real people in the community about their thoughts and their perspectives. Dave, thank you for having us here at G-Town Styles. Why don't we start with you telling us a little bit about yourself? How long have you been working here at G-Town Styles?
I've been into the industry about 38 years now, and off and on about that. And I've quit a few times, but I just love the barbershop atmosphere and love, taking care of people and talking to people and stuff like that. So
you keep coming back. That's great. All right, let's talk about, a little bit about what the barbershop means to the community. So in real life and in media, the barbershop is often portrayed as a place of gathering and connection, particularly for Black boys and men. How do you see the role of the barbershop when it comes to building community?
I see the role as it being like a sanctuary, a school, broad. It's like a broad, people come here at the barbershop to learn, to have fun, chat about sports, politics, the latest thing going on around town, the world news. So that's, what I see it as.
Cool. And so why do you think it's more challenging now than before for us to build community, particularly with Black boys and men?
Well, it's probably harder now because of social media. A lot of social media got these kids thinking one way.
Right.
And so when they come here to the shop, we got to try to get them refocused.
Right.
Get their mind back where it should be and stuff like that,
So there's a little bit of that intergenerational relationship, right, where the unks or the big brothers can maybe interact with those younger boys and kind of help them have a perspective or maybe hear things they might not otherwise hear.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Great. So it's summertime. So I want to talk about one of the most popular ways to build community, which is the cookout. I understand G-Town Styles has a great tradition of doing a cookout. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, the cookout is to give back, bring people together like a family reunion. Basically giving back to the community, to a lot of the clients and the younger generation, to express, how much we appreciate their them patronizing the barbershop, things of that nature. It's a place where everybody can express themselves, tell us what they feel, how they feel about the shop, stuff like that, and the worldly news and stuff like that. So
when do you guys have the cookout?
We have it once a year, like in the summertime. I think it's coming up sometime in August.
Coming up in August, okay. And what do you look forward to most when you have the cookout?
Bringing people together, having fun, cooking for everybody, and stuff like that.
Do you have a favorite dish? Like, are you more burgers?
Me, I'm a pescatarian, but I do the fish.
So you bring the fish?
Yeah, I do seafood and stuff like that. So
okay. And what's the response from the community been with the cookout?
They like it. All the clients say you're getting good reports. It's getting bigger.
It's getting bigger?
It's getting bigger. Last year was a little more than the year before. Now I think a lot more people are coming this year.
And do you guys work with the other shops and businesses in the community?
We're trying.
Okay.
We're trying. You know, but seems like no one wants to, collaborate. So
still
yeah,
challenges
so
in
it's
community
us,
building,
yeah.
even with the cookout. All right. One of the ways that we have been able to work together with BCE and your shop is the book project. I don't know what you think about that, but how do you see the barbershop as a way to partner with initiatives like that? Have you talked about the book project at all with some of the customers?
Yeah, that's a great thing. I'm glad that the young lady is doing that, because some people come in and she allows them to take the books out and bring them back. They like it. She has some good book selection.
Okay.
So
Were you a reader growing up? Is that something you think you might have liked when you were a kid?
yeah, I was an avid reader.
You were an avid reader. Okay.
Read all the time.
What spurred you to be an avid reader? Was that something you saw in your house, or?
No, I was the only one in my family who read a lot, actually. Yeah. So I just like to read.
Wonderful. Well, Dave, thank you so much for speaking with us. Thank you for opening up your community to our community, and we wish you a lot of success.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate that. Nice to meet you, y'all.
So that was The Real Deal. We got to hear from a real community member about their perspectives, their take on community, and obviously the barbershop, which is, again, an iconic place for community building. We look forward to the next Real Deal conversation in the future.
What had happened was, it's Valarie, and I'm back with the 2 local incidents and 2 non-local incidents that I mentioned in our opening call for clarity segment. The first 2 incidents are related to elections, national and local, and the 3rd incident and 4th incident have to do with a boy named Carmelo Anthony in Texas. See if you can pick up on a theme. Anyone with a pulse is aware that democracy, as imperfect as it has been in these United States, is crumbling under the weight of anti-Black hate, fear, and greed. The destruction of the Voting Rights Act may be the final blow needed to legally destroy representation for Black people and Black humanity in our country. According to Wikipedia, the Voting Rights Act of 1965 is a landmark U.S. federal statute that prohibits racial discrimination in voting. It was signed into law by President Lyndon B. Johnson during the height of the Civil Rights Movement on August 6, 1965. Congress later amended the act 5 times to expand its protections. It was designed to enforce voting rights protected by the 14th and 15th Amendments to the United States Constitution. The act sought to secure the right to vote for racial minorities throughout the country, especially in the South. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, the act is considered to be the most effective piece of federal civil rights legislation ever enacted. The National Archives and Records Administration stated, "The Voting Rights Act of 1965 was the most significant statutory change in the relationship between the federal and state governments in the area of voting since the Reconstruction period after the Civil War." In the 6 decades since its passing, racist federal lawmakers have steadily chipped away at tenets of that law. Just this past April, in a case about congressional redistricting in the state of Louisiana, the United States Supreme Court knocked out another major pillar of the law that had protected against racial discrimination in voting and representation. To put it bluntly, in the words of Cliff Albright, a co-founder of the group Black Voters Matter, it means that you have entire communities that can go without having representation. It is literally throwing us back to the Jim Crow era unapologetically, and that's not exaggeration. Here's why that matters for every single person living in the United States and those who want to live here. Black elected officials have held the worst of legalized racism at bay for centuries. Most Black people still live in the South. When voting districts are redrawn, as they are being redrawn right now, to eliminate those Black elected officials, there will no longer be a line of defense against any of the rights that you hold dear. And the 6 Supreme Court justices who did the latest bad deed will be there until they die. The worst part is that we are now seeing the fault lines in the Democratic Party, to which Black people have been absolutely loyal, at least until now. Actually, that's not the worst part. The worst part is that right here in Montgomery County, BCEE and Black United Front leaders have repeatedly asked every one of your current elected and appointed officials to speak out about the decimation of democracy in the Voting Rights Act, and only one, just one, has done so. Their tone deafness to the profound legal expansion of anti-Black systems and institutional takeovers during the same time they loudly and unashamedly beg for your votes and campaign contributions is incompetent, insulting, dangerous for all, and probably deadly for some of us. That's what happened. Now, how can I say that, you ask? Well,
that brings us to incident number 2. As efforts to eliminate voting rights for Black people run amok, the Black people who are courageous enough to run for office despite getting less funding, less political infrastructure, and less protection are under similar assault. Would you believe me if I told you that a local non-Black male candidate for state senator actually laid hands on a Black female opponent and engaged in harassing and intimidating behavior toward this Black female candidate at multiple polling places during the primary election? Well, believe it. Worse yet, but quite predictable, when complaints were made with the site manager, the Black female candidate had to argue and persuade for her humanity to be recognized, as the site manager instantly sided and took up with the non-Black male candidate without even considering her side of the story. So yes, what is for all of us a dangerous civic threat to local democracy is already a physical and criminal threat to Black folks on both sides of the ballot box, those running for office and those voting to put them there. And that brings us to incident number 3. Carmelo Anthony was a 17-year-old Black boy, son, brother, athlete, and friend living in Texas. A fellow white male student athlete at a high school track meet felt the need to confront and eject him from a team tent, pushing Carmelo to defend himself against a perceived threat that surrounded him. Carmelo, now 19 years old, was just convicted of murder and sentenced to 35 years in prison by a jury that had no Black people on it. Post-conviction, the deceased white student athlete's father made headlines for referring to Carmelo as a, quote, watermelon felon on a podcast. Cyrus Carmack Belton was a 14-year-old boy, son, and high school student living in South Carolina. His classmates described him as intelligent and humorous, with quick wit and someone they could depend on to ask questions beyond the scope of the topic, as he often would seek to understand rather than accept and move on. Cyrus was accused of shoplifting bottled water at a gas station store and threatening the store owner's son. After Cyrus showed he had neither, the store owner chased Cyrus outside of the store for more than 130 yards and shot him in the back. Cyrus tragically died. Rick Chow, the store owner, was recently found not guilty of murder. So yeah, that happened. Black boys and men continue to be failed by a justice system that does not provide fair, equitable, and just treatment. Our humanity is erased, our consequences are harsher, and despite the documented disparities and inconsistencies, the system insists that everything went as it should. As evidenced by the latest disparate outcomes for Carmelo compared to Mr. Chow, when it comes to Black men in criminal court in America, it's rules for thee, but not for me. The legal injustice that bulldozed over Carmelo and Cyrus could have happened to any Black boy or man in this country. Like me, I know every Black parent who is processing the ramifications of these verdicts on these young lives are left with the haunting question, what if it was my son?
what if it was my son?
Or any Black boy who is seen as a threat just for being born a Black boy? But wait, we don't have to look to South Carolina or Texas to find life-altering injustice. Right here in Montgomery County, we have some of our neighbors to thank for the destruction of affirmative action in higher education and the anti-DEI avalanche that continues to bury civil rights, equity, and justice across every area of our lives.
In June of 2023, the Asian American Coalition for Education issued a statement titled, "A Historic Victory for Asians and All Americans," praising the U.S. Supreme Court's landmark rulings on the lawsuits filed by Students for Fair Admissions against Harvard University and the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Historic? Yes. Victorious? Absolutely not. Our neighbors right here in Montgomery County have earned a legacy for racism, caste supremacy, and anti-democratic oppression, which will live in infamy. Neighbors, but for the affirmative acts and legal resistance of Black people who would never have been able to find their way to the Supreme Court. And that's what had happened. Now, did you pick up on the theme? Here it is. No one holds themselves accountable to Black people, and we cannot make them, even at the ballot box. Not individually, to keep their hands off of our bodies, not systemically, to apply laws that deliver equal measures of justice, not communally, right here in Montgomery County with our neighbors and families in the public schools we all pay for and rely on to provide every child with what they need to be effectively educated. So what do we do, folks?
We build.
We demand.
We resist.
We extract.
We invest.
We stay rooted. And
we rise.
For the Black Joy Spotlight, we're excited to share some successes, some victories, some moments of great achievement within the Black community in Montgomery County. And we'll start with Alexa Givens, a young and up-and-coming talent in Montgomery County who had the pleasure and opportunity to recently perform at the Bethesda Blues and Jazz Youth Orchestra's Young Artist Series, where she led the vocals and was able to demonstrate all of her talents as a musician and a singer, and we celebrate her achievement as she has graduated college as well. Next, we want to recognize BCEE student volunteer Rachel Banks, who has successfully launched her own salon, and we're so proud to see somebody who was contributing and volunteering with BCEE move on in accomplishing and achieving her dreams as an entrepreneur. Congratulations, Rachel. Lastly, we want to celebrate BCE youth volunteer RJ on his 8th grade promotion as he is transitioning to high school. Congratulations, RJ. We're so excited for you to go on to the next phase of your education journey, and we wish you all the best.
Here at Rooted and Rising, we like to end our programs with prayer. And we do that because we believe that there is a creator that has created everything and is in charge of everything and orders our steps and our work. So before I pray, I want to set the stage. We've talked about a lot of things in this episode, and a lot of things that may be things that are going wrong for Black people, or we've got to rise up and take our power. I had a conversation this past week with a high school friend, and he and his brother are leaving the country as Black men because they're just done. And I can imagine that you might be in that place. You may be in that place because of things that have nothing to do with elections, but here's the prayer that I want to leave you with, which hopefully will give you hope. I pray that you stay the course. I pray that you remember who you are and whose you are and where you come from. I pray that no one makes you come out of who you are just to respond to current day events. And most of all, I pray that you're not alone. And I know that you're not alone because we're here. The Black Coalition for Excellence in Education is just that. It's a coalition of those who are already in, and those who are on the way, and those who need to come in, which is part of why we do this program. So I lift you up in prayer to the Creator who created all things, and know that we believe in you, we need you, and we love you.
In my head is our song, been listening to it on repeat. Go play whatever you want, I can dance to anything, don't matter at all. How about some Michael Jackson? You know it's gon' hit. I wanna rock with you all night long. wanna kill it.